And on this segment, we are on location at Memorial Hearing with Dr. Elly Pourasef. She is the owner of Memorial Hearing, doing incredible work helping people with their hearing. We're going to hear all about it. Doctor, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, hearing is so important. But first, as we get to the different things about hearing, the conditions you deal with, first, let's tell people about your practice right here. We're on location, Memorial Hearing.
We are at Memorial Hearing. We are located really conveniently off I-10 and Beltway, and we do that just because we have patients from all over the Houston area, and you know how Houston is. You don't want to go down any side streets because you'll get stuck at a light for 20 minutes. So we try to stay right around, the major freeways if we can, and we've been doing this since 2009. Been busy and just keep growing, and it's great.
Yes, indeed. It's easy on, easy off. It's kind of interesting, too, as we're talking. I'm looking out the window. Thousands of cars go by all day long.
I see lots of car accidents.
Well, okay, hearing is so important. Let's tell people some of the things that you're doing here as far as the conditions you run into, because as I'm out there, I see people, and even myself, I've had issues along the way.
Right.
Hearing is so important. What are some of the things?
It's one of your senses.
Yeah, it's a big one. What are some of the things that you're helping people with as far as conditions?
As far as like my degree in audiology, I have my doctorate degree, and that allows me to see hearing and balance and other things that are under the umbrella of audiology. But in this particular private practice that we have here at Memorial Hearing, we are just mostly dealing with the hearing. We're not dealing with the balance or vestibular issues. So the type of patients that we see most are most often patients that can't hear well. They usually notice it when they're going somewhere noisy like restaurants. And of course, since COVID, we've been busier than ever because a lot of people are wearing face masks. And so you're not able to read lips. You're not able to use those cues. And so people kind of, waving their white flag and saying, okay, I guess this is it. Now I have to do something about it. So that's I would say the number one patient base that we have are people that have hearing loss, and they want to see what's going on and what they're going to do about it, which usually is getting amplification through wearing hearing aids. And then, of course, most recently, over the past year and a half, again, because of COVID, with TikTok coming into existence the way it has, we now have a huge patient base that are seeing us for earwax removal, which I find interesting because I myself was not a fan of removing earwax out of patients' ears until there's this particular machine called the Irrigator. I think it's a cute name. And once that came into existence,
catchy.
Yeah, it's catchy. Ear like EAR, not IIR.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's an irrigation machine. But unlike your typical irrigation machine, the Irrigator warms the water up to body temperature so that when we do put it in the patient's ears, it doesn't make them feel nauseous, because normal irrigation sometimes makes people feel nauseous. And so since we caught wind of that machine, and now that we have it, we filmed our first TikTok removing earwax, and it got like 20 million views. It's just been insane ever since.
20 million
views, yeah, like over a very short period of time.
It makes you wonder why they want to see it. Number one, you don't see it every day. That might be one reason.
I think that's part of it. People think it's satisfying. That's the catchphrase, if you will, satisfying.
As far as the feeling goes.
No, as far as watching so the way we film our TikToks, we do like before and after. So we have a video otoscope that allows
So you're seeing right in the ear.
You're seeing right in the ear. You're seeing a big old block of wax. It's fun, yeah. And then we do the cleaning with, a big piece of wax pouring out of somebody's ear. And then you see the after, which will be a very clean ear canal. So people love kind of that whole process.
Well, on the subject of earwax, some people, and I've talked to them where I'll have my ears cleaned periodically, and I'll talk to people. I'll say, "Have you ever had your ears cleaned?" Because I'm wondering if I'm like the only guy. Yeah. Apparently, I'm not,
No, you're not alone.
But some people have never had issues with earwax, or maybe they don't know that they have too much. Who knows? But why does earwax accumulate?
Thank you. That's a good question.
More than in some versus others.
I think we get so many people here, like literally people from all over the state, all over the United States. They'll fly in, they'll drive from Louisiana, Florida, just because they're wondering if they have earwax. The way you can tell is if you're just not hearing as well. But some people have issues and some people don't. Because of the natural shape of the ear canal, you may have a narrow ear canal, narrowing of your canal, or really curvy canal. So it's not just like lack of hygiene, which sometimes in the comment section you'll be like, oh, you'll see like people don't clean their ears, rah, rah, rah. And I'm like,
Ear bullies.
yeah, come on, keyboard warriors. It's not about that. It's usually the opposite, actually. People usually overclean their ears. They use, ear swabs, and they end up pushing the wax further, and then it becomes impacted from trying to clean it out. And then they just have a more narrow canal, and there you go. So some people are just what we call repeat offenders. You're just going to have issues with it, and we're just going to have to see you more often than others.
Would it be safe to say then, and I think it says it on the cotton swabs, you shouldn't really push them into your ear?
It literally says it on the box.
Right,
It says these are not intended for ears.
Because you're pushing stuff in.
Yeah, it's not like a magnet. It's not going to pull it out. So if you're going to use them, I'm not going to lie, I use them, and I'm going to admit it. The key is to do this, not this. That just only on the outer, wax is created only on the outer 1/3 of the ear canal. So there's no wax being made deep in your ears. So if you start to push it, all you're doing is just pushing it.
Okay, wait a minute. So you're saying that where is the wax is created on the outside? Or where does the wax come from?
So if you took your ear canal, which is about 25 millimeters long,
Yep.
only if you cut it into 3 parts, wax is created in the cartilaginous part, where there's more cartilage, and it's the outer 1/3 of the ear. So if you just do this, you're going to get your wax and be okay.
On the outside.
Not literally the outside, but the outer part, the most outer part of your
Okay.
ear canal. You're still in the canal, but just very barely in. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Or you can just take a washcloth. Sometimes people use warm water, hydrogen peroxide mix.
That tab-looking thing on your ear, is that what you're talking about? Like behind that?
This is that's your tragus. Behind that and just a tiny bit in
Okay.
is okay. Anything past that and you're pushing it in deeper. But in your case where you have to go every few months, I haven't looked in your ears yet, which I will after we're done with this. I guarantee you probably just have a really narrow ear canal, and it's not your fault.
It's not my fault.
It's not your fault.
So, but it's a good thing. I wonder about this in that what happens in other practices of medicine, what happened hundreds of years ago where we didn't have technology, where we didn't have the knowledge, where we didn't have the equipment to handle some of these afflictions. Those poor people back hundreds of years.
I think about that all the time. Like,
so do I.
When I couldn't see before I had my LASIK surgery, I was like, what
did
would
they
I have
do?
done?
What did George
like, what a
Washington do?
time to be alive, seriously.
Exactly.
You can get your eyes fixed, your ears cleaned. Anything
All
you
kinds
need,
of-
Dad.
yeah,
We'll take
no.
care of it.
We're fortunate to be living in this time. There's no
Absolutely.
question about that. So as far as, we talked about earwax. The Irrigator is a unique machine. We'll tell
Yes.
people about that again. You help people with that. You have this machine here. You have the videos. They can go to your website. The website is
memorialhearing.com, or you can follow Dr. Elly. Doctor spelled out DOCTOR, and then my name is ELLY. My parents did not think to spell it with an IE like every other Elly. But anyway, if you go to
I like
Dr.
it.
Elly,
that's a good
Kelly without a K. If you go to Dr. Elly either on Instagram or TikTok, is where I have maybe almost 800,000 followers right now.
So what are some of the other things that people will come to your practice for as far as, yes, they want to get
Hearing
their ears clean,
protection.
hearing protection.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the preventative things
yeah,
because
absolutely.
we do we just naturally lose our hearing as we get
So
older,
there is
or
some
is it
natural,
event?
what we call normative data on, this age group could have a mild loss. By this age, let's say in your 70s, maybe a little bit of a mild to moderate. But they have there's been studies with like indigenous tribes like in the Amazon where they can be in their 70s and have no hearing loss. So a lot of this, you can have a 18-year-old with more hearing loss than a 70-year-old, and that's because that 18-year-old has exposed himself to maybe hunting too much on the weekends without earplugs, and that 70-year-old has lived their life in a more like very lack of noise exposure. Noise exposure is mostly, the biggest reason for patients needing hearing aids. So as much as you can protect your hearing, let's have you not come see us as, prematurely if you can, right? So the best way to do it is wearing earplugs. You can see sometimes these sports people, you'll see their kid or babies in the stands, and they'll zoom in and the baby will have big head hearing protection on, and I'm always like, yay.
That's a good thing.
It's a
Oh,
good
yeah.
thing. It's a
Yeah.
good thing. Like, I had a pair of
Concerts, when you go to concerts.
Concerts will like if you come home from a concert and your ears are ringing, That's tinnitus or tinnitus, that some people call it. You know, you're starting to start chipping away at your hearing if this continues. If you know, we've had patients that work at like Toyota Center and Cynthia Woods Mitchell Pavilion that come to us for custom earplugs just to have something. They don't want to like do the foamy, which I'm all about doing whatever you want. Do the foamy, do whatever, get custom ones if you are around it a lot, you don't feel like dealing with it. But prevention is the first step. And then if you end up having hearing loss and you're not hearing well, do something about it. Cognitive decline and hearing loss are very much connected. And one of the biggest things you can do to help your brain if you have hearing loss is to wear hearing aids. I know we're kind of throwing a lot of stuff out there: hearing protection, tinnitus, cognitive issues, but these all these things kind of go together, and it's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a big quality of life issue when you cannot hear. When you start to see your family member sitting in the corner of the room or of the table and they're just nodding or smiling or kind of looking off in the distance, they're starting to isolate themselves, and that's not a good thing. We don't want that. So do something about it as far as preventing it as much as you can. Wear earplugs. If you can, get a baseline hearing test. That way you know where you're at. I don't care how old you are. If you're 20, 30, 40, 50, if you haven't had a hearing test in a decade, just see where you're at. At least that way, if heaven forbid something happens, you have something to compare it to. Because a lot of times we'll get people coming in like, oh my gosh, I can't hear. Oh, another big one. I'm going to use this public service announcement. This is a big deal. And I want everybody to hear this, as many people as I can. If you ever notice that you're not able to hear out of one ear, it's usually unilateral, one-sided, and it's sudden. So you wake up one day.
You're scaring me already.
I want to scare you.
Okay.
Look up. You see that sign right there?
Yep.
It's right there. There's a reason I have it in every room.
Sudden hearing loss.
Sudden hearing loss. Unfortunately, not a lot of people know about this, including, I hate to say it, but not even a lot of physicians know about this, if you will, your general doctor. If you have a sudden hearing loss, you wake up one day and you cannot hear out of that ear, one ear, don't assume it's earwax, to go to an ear, nose, and throat physician immediately. I'm talking that day. You have about a 3-day window to do something about it. As long as you don't have diabetes, they may give you a very high dose of steroids or an injection in your ear. If it's over the weekend and you go to the ER, if it's not earwax, again, really high dose of steroids if your body is able to handle it. It's a sudden viral attack of the inner ear, and it's usually permanent. I'm talking like it's so severe that most people cannot even, and eventually, after all their follow-ups, they don't end up even able to wear a hearing aid because of it. Because it's basically almost like deaf. You become deaf on that side. And it's such a big deal. And a lot of people they think it's not, or they're like, oh, let me get in to see my doctor first. And sometimes
sometimes it's hard to get into the doctor
sometimes
right
it's hard
away.
to get
Depends,
in.
yeah.
So the key is
this
sudden.
This is an emergency.
Sudden.
It's
an emergency. I want you in within 3 days, preferably at an ear, nose, and throat physician's office. It's just such a big deal. And
what causes that?
It's a virus,
Just like that.
Just like that.
Okay, real quick, going back maybe even to this issue, but as far as earwax, diet is so important for everything. Are there things that you do to maintain your ear health from a dietary standpoint? Are there things that you eat, things that you don't eat?
There's a lot of comorbidities with hearing loss. So, for example, if you have diabetes, you're more likely to have hearing loss and things like that. So when it comes to those kind of things, but specifically as far as like if I eat this, as far as tinnitus, that's another.
I was going to ask that next. Yes.
So
what about that?
Too much caffeine, too much fatigue. Of course, stress causes a lot of problems. Fatigue, not enough sleep, foods high in caffeine and salt and things like that can also exacerbate tinnitus. So
what about alcohol?
Personally, from my knowledge, you're safe on that.
Okay, that might be the cure. Who knows?
It's the cure.
Well, I had a friend tell me, and he is a young man. He is a percussionist, so he's been playing the drums for many years. But he's had tinnitus, and he said that he used to have like high blood pressure, and he said when I had high blood pressure, it was worse. Yes. Now it's better.
And some people have what's like pulsatile tinnitus, which they kind of hear.
The pulsing.
Yeah, for that we don't even see those patients. We immediately have the front office trained to have them just see their physician and make sure there's nothing else going on with their health and make sure they get their blood pressure checked. Always have your yearly physical, obviously. And then once in a while, get a baseline audiogram, protect your hearing. If you're noticing you have tinnitus, you can call us. We have a Dr. Crystal Wiggins is our tinnitus specialist. I see tinnitus patients as well, but she has an additional certification. She has an extensive interview process that she does with the patients, especially the ones that are really suffering from it. It can be very debilitating, and it's very scary to have a noise in your head that you can't get rid of. So there's a process that we go through with these patients as well.
And we hear about that a lot with people in all fields of life.
Yes.
With this problem, but there is hope.
Absolutely. There's hope.
Let's talk about ear protection. People,
Okay.
I'm a musician, I'm doing radio, wearing headphones. There's a lot of here in Texas, maybe more so than others, people at gun ranges,
A lot of
firing guns.
A lot of that, yeah.
Ex-military. I mean, you see it all, I guess.
Yep.
Let's tell people, and I'm glad you...
Tools, power tools.
Oh.
Even a lawnmower. A lawnmower is 100 or 105 dB loud.
Unless you have an electric one. I have an electric one, by the way.
Fancy.
Okay, but yes, they are too loud. Leaf blowers. Horrible.
Just wear some earplugs. That's it. And what that means is you don't wear your you don't wear your Apple AirPods and blast your
And have them
music
cranked up, yeah.
over it. Yeah, that's not protecting your hearing. You need to wear earplugs. Protect your hearing. If you don't feel like, we can, like I said, I'm not trying to draw business. That's not what I'm doing, but it's so convenient to have custom ones because they pop into your ear. You can have cords. You can take them out of your ears, wrap them around your neck. And again, otherwise just go to Walgreens, get your 100-pack for $3. Wear something, because every time you expose your, you could do some power tools one day, go to a concert another day, go to a spin class where there's really loud music being
Yes.
played. I mean, it's just everywhere you go. It's just chipping away at your hearing, and we'll be here for you if you want to be our patient, but I'd rather not do it prematurely.
We're talking with Dr. Elly Pourasef right here at Memorial Hearing, helping people every day in unique ways sometimes, but you understand what's going on with the ear. Let's talk about how are you successful? You're doing this. You have a great engagement with your patients. You're helping them. But what do you, as far as keeping an office like this organized, training people, leading the staff and things like that, what are some of the things that you do that maybe others can practice or be mindful of? What's your core principles
I think
of success?
Follow through. A big one is for me is follow through.
Right.
If we're gonna say we're gonna do something, we're gonna do it.
I just said that the other day to
Really?
someone, even if it's a little thing.
It's the smallest things that matter to me. So the way I ensure
Yes.
it is like we used to do, like paper notes and Post-its and things like that. But also, because of HIPAA and health stuff, I don't want patients like random information like to fall in a crack and whatever. So we first of all we obviously went everything digital. We've scanned all of our files, and we don't have any paper files. And then the fact that we have everything on a database, like we use like a particular audiology data management system. I just made up something where it's like a to-do list almost, and it moved, like there's one for every day. Like if I know 2 weeks from now, I made a custom ear mold for somebody who needs it for part of their hearing aid fitting, and their hearing aid is going to be here tomorrow, but their custom ear molds take 2 weeks to make, then I'm going to put a reminder in that database 2 weeks from now, make sure we got custom ear molds for Joe Schmo. And that's it. Like then they every day they have their from whether we made that where we added it on the schedule, it's part of our schedule almost. Different things to what we call it PCCs, which is the patient care coordinator, and I don't know why we just did we do all the PCCs for today? And we even have it to where once they're done, they're minimized, they're not deleted, because I'm going to check every single one of them. It's a little bit of a neuroses, it's a little bit of a micromanagement, but I'm not micromanaging them. I'm micromanaging the situation. We're all in a sense micromanaging everything we do so that as many things as possible don't fall through the cracks. When you've been in business for over a decade, we have patients from 2009. By the way, we were originally in the Coral Petroleum building until they tore them down. So I haven't always been here. But we have patients from 2009, 2012, 2015, and then we have a ton of patients every day trying to get an appointment. We're booked months out, and
Wow.
I hired another doctor to help, and she'll be starting soon. But with all of this craziness going on, mistakes are going to happen. Multiple mistakes can happen a day. I'm just trying to prevent it. And to me, that's kind of like, that's my day-to-day, success measure of success, is how many
You
do
have
we
your
make any
hands your
mistake?
fingers on the pulse. You know you have to know what's going on.
Like, and maybe it's just part of my personality. And I think as a business owner, I think so many audiologists, like they reach out to me, like they'll message me on Instagram, like, oh, I'm looking up to you, whatever. I'm going to have my own practice one day. And I used to just think everybody should have their own practice. And now over time, I'm realizing it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. Like, and I sometimes consider myself absent-minded in my personal life. I forget things easily. But when it comes to my work life, like I take these steps into not forgetting it. I'm also surrounding myself with a team of amazing people. I don't want a cancer in the workplace. I want to cut the cancer out. Get out of here. If you're not a team player like that, you don't belong in this office. And so when I interview somebody, I basically make it very clear. I don't want that kind of attitude here. If you think you have it, don't accept the job. You know what I mean? Because everybody can be like, when they're interviewing, like putting on their best face.
Sure.
Right? Yeah, smiling, whatever. And then they start working here, and 2 weeks later, like, don't
here's
tell me
the
what
real you, right?
Yeah, and I'm like, get out.
I like that.
You know
Well,
what I mean?
and that was you're right where I was going to say is, first of all, in any profession, it's hard to find the right people, especially to be
So
on
hard,
your team,
especially nowadays.
something right.
With a great resignation.
So to find them, how do you find the right
Some
people?
of it is just people I've known for all my life.
So you have a good sphere,
I do,
so to speak. Yeah,
I
that's
have
good.
Two people here I've known for about 30-something years. Another person I've known for 16 years. And our latest one that we just met is amazing, and she fits right in. So it's hashtag blessed.
Well, we have about 4 or 5 minutes left or so. What I want to make sure that you tell people what they need to know about hearing, about your practice, or anything else.
So, I mean, you can see in the background, I try
Your
to keep,
dog. You have a little dog, right?
My little baby, Kennedy the Shih Tzu.
So cute.
He's
I'm looking
adorable.
at the picture.
He has an Instagram and a TikTok too, Kennedy the Shih Tzu. We're not very active on it, but we will be one day. But honestly, as far as like the office, like I try to maintain a aesthetically pleasing office. It does bother me. Like I went to a cardiology appointment one day, and that like the chairs were all ripped up.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I know you're making money as a cardiologist, and you can do better than this. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to say everybody has to be fashionable and have burnt orange couches, hook 'em horns.
Watch the
hook
YouTube
'em
video. If you're
horns.
just listening, go to the YouTube channel.
But I think to step it up a little bit, make your patients feel special. We probably go overboard. We have Voss water and Elly coffee. I'm not saying everybody needs to do that, but at least like give back a little bit. Don't like as a business owner, I'm not trying to keep all the money. I'm giving it back. I give back as far as charity, give back as far as the patients, make them feel special. Make the office pretty. These are things that are important to me, and I think it's been part of why we've been successful. Many people make videos the same way we do on TikTok, but I think part of I always want to make
Not everybody has that ear kick can go inside the ear with the video. That's
like,
awesome.
It takes me 6 hours. My boyfriend's like, enough, just upload it. I'm like, no.
You got to make it right. There's editing involved.
Yeah, I'm like, it's like, and of course he appreciates it, but sometimes he sees me working on one video for 5 hours, and he's like, oh my God.
I identify with that. I do it all the time. Okay, a quick word before we close the segment on the ear. First of all, the human body in itself is so fascinating if you look at any aspect of it. But the ear, isn't the ear itself? Tell us about when you look at it, your perspective of the ear. It's fascinating. All the stuff. I don't even know what's in it. You look inside.
It's very complicated.
Complicated.
Yeah, it's actually more complicated than the visual system. All the with the nerves and everything
and the brain.
Yeah, the connection to the brain, and again that going back to like as far as like cognitively, there's just been so many studies that link untreated hearing loss to early cognitive decline. I'm not saying if you don't wear hearing aids, you're going to get Alzheimer's, but there's a big link to that. And a lot of people actually are aware of it. So it's kind of exciting that people, when we do that, we do cognitive screening here too, which is within our scope of practice, we have a cognitive view machine. It's really neat.
The ear, the fascination of the ear, the beauty of the ear.
My actual thing with it,
I
originally just picked audiology because I was like, I can't do blood.
That's right. You don't have to really deal with blood streaming
as silly as that sounds, it's like I wanted something just less invasive, and
okay,
I found audiology.
That sounds pretty exciting. So here we are.
Does
once
it
again.
Sound exciting?
Yes, and I'm glad I can hear it.
It's trying to be punny.
Memorial Hearing, Dr. Elly Pourasef. What's the website again? Is
memorialhearing.com.
What's the phone number?
713-984-7562. 713-984-7562.
And there you go. Thank you so much for
so
being
much for
on the
having
show.
me.
And you'll actually look in my ear.
Yes.
I can hardly wait.
I hope there's wax.
But I'm afraid now.
If there is, we're going to film it. Stay tuned.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you all for listening to Successful Living with Bill Knapik. And today with Dr. Elly Pourasef.